Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to take you through everything that I read in 2024. I am a bit sick, so my voice is like cutting in and out. Sorry in advance. You can hear it in my voice, it sounds a little bit awful. But here we are, we're entering the new year sick. As usual, if you watch my writing video, you'll see that I get burnt out and kind of sore throat and sick a lot. Well, we're pushing through, for better or worse. Might regret it tomorrow, but it's okay. I've got half day tomorrow. It's fine. I managed to do 25 books in 2024. Although I kind of think like one of them doesn't count. We'll get to that when we get there in the list. But yeah, kind of annoying. I should have saved that one for this year because it's so quick to read. Then it would have been 24 books in 2024, which would have been so poetic. But here we are. I'm going to take you through them one by one. Not going to go into in-depth reviews. I already have in-depth reviews about most of them. A couple of them are on the way, and a few of them I haven't done because they were before I started this channel, but I do plan on recording them. In hindsight, they just might be like based on my memory, so not sure how they'll be. But those ones do have reviews on TikTok, so if you've not checked me out on TikTok, go over there because they're probably over there. So let's just get into it, shall we? The first book I read, and I kind of read over the Christmas holidays, like across New Year, so I started it in 2023, finished it in 2024, was If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. I bought this thinking like I just found this like nice little book that no one was talking about, and then after I read it I realised there was like loads of TikToks about it and it was like a book talk book. Didn't know that when I went into it, but I did quite enjoy it. I thought it was well written. It was quite like poetic language. It was very teenage, very young adult, and it is very tragic. I think this is why it's such a big book talk book, because people like to post TikToks of themselves reading it and sobbing. It's not really a spoiler, like you go into the book in the opening chapter and from the blurb knowing that the boy dies in a car accident at the end, and you kind of find that out and then go back in time and then experience like 4 years of this girl's life up to this point. And there's a lot of miscommunication. It is a good read, but I don't really like the miscommunication trope. I find it a bit like annoying. But I didn't find this book that annoying, just the miscommunication part. And then the ending is tragic, but it's like way more tragic than you'd expect. Like a lot like of other stuff happens, but only in like a few pages, so it's a bit jarring at the end. Didn't really like the end. There is a sequel to this book from the boy's perspective. Can't remember what it's called, but honestly I've got no interest in reading it because I didn't find him that interesting. I think our female character is a lot more interesting, and we know what happens to him anyway. I would be way more interested in finding out what happens to her like after the events of this book, after the end, because her end is like tragic as well. So yeah, it wasn't a cheerful read. It didn't make me cry like the way people on TikTok were. I was just a bit like, oh, okay, well, that was sad. Moving on. Next, I read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Really loved this book. Haven't read any of her other books, her fantasy books, but I thought this was good. I thought it was gripping. June was an interesting character, very dislikable character, but very entertaining to read about. It brought up some interesting topics about writing other people's stories, particularly through that lens of like race. There is a lot of interesting discussion to have about this book. This video isn't the one for it. I will do a separate video about it, but it was an entertaining read and I would recommend it. After this, I read Cleopatra and Frankenstein for a book club. I just did a review of this. It just went out on like January 7th. Really liked it. It was really great, really well written, really dark, really bad vibes. Some bad things happened in it, but I enjoyed it and I'm excited to read Blue Sisters when it's out on paperback. After that, I got very intrigued about how much everyone loved Sarah J Maas, so I went out and I bought ACOTAR, the first book, and Throne of Glass, the first book, and I was like, oh, which one am I going to read first? So I read ACOTAR and it was okay. The ending was quite exciting, but I got kind of bored like at a certain point, like throughout the midpoint, and then I was like, okay, well, that was okay, but I'm not itching to read the next one. So I went on to Throne of Glass and I read that, and I thought that was okay. a little bit dull in places, I'll do a review of it. Also wasn't itching to move on to the second book. As you'll see in my TBR video, which I think will go out after this one, I have now bought Crown of Midnight, so I am going to continue with the series and read the next book, but like I have put it away for quite a while. And after that, like I kind of focused on ACOTAR, and I probably will try and finish like Silver Flames before going on to Crown of Midnight, although I feel a bit more driven to read Crown of Midnight, honestly. Throne of Glass, read it, thought it was fine. That takes us up to about April in the year, so I was kind of reading 1 or 2 books a month. During this time I also listened to the Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. Have listened to the audiobook before. It's John Green reading the audiobook. I've watched him on YouTube for like 10 or 12 years, so I love listening to his non-fiction as an audiobook. Just makes it for me because it's kind of about him and his life a lot. And I really adore this book. It's lovely, it's sad in places, it's hopeful and comforting, it's got all of those John Greenerisms in it. Loved it. And then I also read a non-fiction book called How Minds Change by David McCraney. This blew my mind. I friggin' love this book. I work a lot with like animal behaviour, and a lot of that is human behaviour change and how attitudes change and people's behaviour change. So this book really helped me with my work, really helped me understand people better. It's really interesting. It talks about people who are like flat earthers or members of Westboro Baptist Church, very like extreme individuals, and how they changed their minds about some of these things. The author talks to like a 9/11 truther and talks to him about how he changed his mind from thinking like this is all a government conspiracy and it didn't really happen as it did, to like talking to people who experienced 9/11 and how that changed his mind. I've done a TikTok but not a full review of this book. I will do one because it will help me refresh some of the lessons I learned from that book. And I would totally recommend it if you like to read non-fiction. After that, I read A Court of Mist and Fury and A Court of Wings and Ruin. Had to think about that. I was like, ACOWAR, ACOMAF. We all know it by like the abbreviated title, right? Sometimes not the full title. But yeah, I liked ACOMAF. I finished it like a little bit gagged, so went straight into ACOWAR. But after ACOWAR, I was like, whew, like I'm done for a bit. Did enjoy it. I've done reviews, you know what my thoughts are otherwise, but it was a fun time. It was a fun summer. That brings us up to July, and I read Calla by Colin Walsh, and I read that in just 5 days. This was a literary thriller. Just did a review on it that came out in December. It was wonderful. Really dark, definitely some trigger warnings to look up, although don't look them up unless you need to because it spoils the book. Would thoroughly recommend it. It was fantastic. After that, and very much in the Irish vibes, I read Better by Far by Hazel Hayes. Another lovely book from her. I did prefer Out of Love, but I really enjoyed this one as well. It was a little bit different. Beautiful writing. She's a beautiful person, isn't she? Love it. We'll do a review at some point. We'll probably review like Out of Love and that one together because I've got a lot of thoughts on both. But it's not up yet. It is up on TikTok, so go there to see the review of that one. Next, we're at the point where I made this channel. So I read Beach Read and Bunny, both of which were like the first couple of reviews up on this channel. Beach Read, bloody loved it. It was really cute. Go and watch my review where I gush about it. And Bunny was also fantastic, very weird, very, very creepy. It was very twisted and different, but it was brilliant. I would definitely recommend it. Then I listened to the audiobook of Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Have listened to it before, so it wasn't the first time. I have all 3 audiobooks. I had listened to like Scythe and Thunderhead, which is the second one, like 7 years ago. Never got around to like listening to the Toll, so I'd quite like to listen to them and then do a review of the whole trilogy, because I think Scythe is really good. I did like it, but maybe the romance just didn't like do it for me that much, because I don't know, maybe it was too young adult, but I do think the concept of the book is really interesting and I would like to read on, but I'm not super compelled to. I don't know what didn't compel me to read on or listen on from book 2. Maybe book 3 hadn't come out yet when I listened to it. but I don't feel honestly that driven to listen to book 2 right now, and I've got a lot of like audiobooks that I'm now getting every month that I'm more excited about, so I'm not sure what I'll do. But Scythe is good, I would recommend it, but it's not like brilliant. It's not Hunger Games brilliant for me. Then I read Ninth House, really enjoyed that. That was really good. I know people are polarised about it, but I really liked it, honestly. We're kind of entering like Halloween time reads, so after this I did Eyes, Guts, Throat, Bones by Moira Foley, which was a collection of short stories, all sapphic, all kind of horror based, dystopian based. That was fantastic, and it was a masterclass in writing as well. I read They by Kay Dick. That was confusing. I enjoyed it, but it was a little bit confusing. Watch my review on that if you don't know what I mean by that. Very interesting book to discuss, I think, and the backstory about it, of how it kind of went out of print and came into print like recently again, is very interesting. Life imitates art, as I said in my review. After that, I went on holiday to Croatia. We're at the end of October now, and I read Iron Flame, and I really enjoyed it, and now I'm very excited for Onyx Storm. Came back for Halloween, fully back into the autumn vibes, and read Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. Really nice book, really comforting. Gave it 4 stars just because I was a little bit frustrated with the main character, but I think that's a me problem and not a book problem, because a lot of people disagree with me about that. Most people love this book and are like, this is exactly what I needed. So if it was exactly what you needed, that's great, and I'm very happy for you. But it just lacked a little bit of what I needed, I think, is what I was saying with that review. Go watch it if you don't know what I'm talking about. Then I read A Court of Frost and Starlight. We had a snow day here. It was November, and we're just kind of entering like, oh, it's coming up to Christmas, and that was nice. It got me in the Christmassy vibe, got me in the snow vibe, like allowed me to make the most of that snow day. I'll always remember that snow day now, because I think it's so cozy when like your book and the weather match, don't you think? So I enjoyed it. I did have gripes with it. I did do a big rant review about it, even though I did enjoy it. Honestly, I did quite enjoy it, but also had a lot to rant about. I think because I'd done such a small video for the other 3 ACOTAR books, a lot of my like ranting for this little novella, like it holds for the other books as well. But yeah, it kind of all came out in that review. Not yucking anyone's yum, of course. If you liked it, that's fine. Happy for you. Then I read Really Good Actually. I think this review came out last week or 2 weeks ago. Was quite frustrated with this book. Really frustrating, actually. But I didn't think it was a bad book by any means. I think it could have been a little bit better. It could have addressed like some of those questions about marriage a little bit better. And I found the protagonist frustrating, but I don't know, I think that might have been the point of the book. Not sure. The fact that I'm not sure is not great. I feel like maybe that should be clear, or maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe it's to do with the marketing. Don't know. Let me know your thoughts of whether you think the book was meant to be relatable or meant to be like a cautionary tale. If you've read it, of course. And after that, I went into something that had much better vibes. I read The Lost Bookshop by Evie Woods, and this was wholesome. It was quite magical, but there was some dark topics in it. A lot of like violence against women, which didn't necessarily expect, but I enjoyed the story. Got this from my mum for Christmas. She really liked it as well. So that was nice. And it was, even though it's not Christmassy, it kind of got me back into the Christmas spirit, whereas Really Good Actually kind of had like killed that Christmas spirit. So got me feeling whimsical again. Then I read, and this is the one I don't think should really count towards my reading goal, but I read the Ammo Farm graphic novel. This is of course by George Orwell, but it is like adapted, and the artwork is by a man called Oder. I think he might be a Argentinian or Brazilian. It was a really great graphic novel. I read it in like 1 or 2 hours, maybe just 1 hour. Really easy, and got across the whole story, and with great artwork. I read this because the book I'm writing heavily features Animal Farm, and in it, not to give like too many spoilers, but there's like a big literacy problem with the population that they're trying to like give this book to, basically. And so the characters decide that some kind of comic strip of the book, like a graphic novel, although not necessarily like disseminated like a graphic novel, would be good. It would help people understand it a little bit better. So I bought this graphic novel purely for research, just to see like how they interpreted specific scenes and what of the dialogue and of the text that they kept. It was excellent for that. And if you have like kids or people that are learning to read, and you want to introduce them to stories like Animal Farm and other classics, you can often find graphic novel versions of them, and this one is very good. So I would recommend getting this if you like graphic novels or you have people in your life that would benefit. It makes the story really accessible and easy to understand, and I loved it. I have read like the book version of Animal Farm before, but like it also just helps me for doing research. I don't have to like pore over like a physical or Kindle copy of Animal Farm again and again. I can just kind of flick through the graphic novel and get a good idea for what's going on and refresh my memory very well. So I really appreciated that, and it's really helping me with my own book. Then we have the final 2 books of the year that I read over the Christmas holidays. We have Dalagut Dream Department Store, which was like a South Korean translated cozy fantasy kind of novel, quite small, just very wholesome. It was okay. I enjoyed it, but it just wasn't that gripping to me, honestly. But it was nice, and the cover is beautiful. And I finished the year with Isaac and the Egg by Bobby Pammer, and I finally got to learn what the egg is. Watch my last TBR to get that reference. But yeah, this is basically about a man who's in despair, and he goes to the bridge to throw himself off, and he screams, and something in the forest screams back, and it is the egg, and this is how Isaac meets the egg. It's a story about grief. It's beautiful. There's some twists in it, and it was just lovely. I would 100% recommend it, but I'll do a review on that in the coming weeks. So that's it. That was my 24 books in 2024, or 25 books if you count the graphic novel. Pretty happy with my year, although I think I'm going to read a bit more in 2025, purely because of this channel. I feel a lot more driven to read and actually like get through my books when I'm in a slump. So while I'm not setting a specific number as a goal for 2025, I'm curious to see like what I can reach, maybe 30 or something like that. We shall see. Check out my book talk for more reviews on these books, or this YouTube channel for more in-depth reviews on many of these books. Those that aren't up, I will probably do at some point, and they can fill in some of the weeks where I'm reading bigger books in this coming year. Let me know how many books you read this year, and let me know how many of these books you read this year. Thank you for watching, and subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next video, where I'll be doing a TBR for 2025 of all of the new books I've acquired. It's quite a lot. I do have a bit of a problem maybe. But who on BookTube doesn't? Thanks for watching. Bye!